everyone, and welcome to our session. We're just going to wait a few more moments to allow for other participants to join us, but we will be starting shortly. With that, I want to pass it on to our presenters. Today, we have Fengqin and Fred from Counseling and Psychological Services. I'm going to pass it on to them to introduce themselves a little bit more as well. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you, Karina. Hi, everyone. I am Fengqin Lian. It's a Chinese name. So I was born and grew up in China, and I was an international student myself. And then I have been working at UCSD for over 8 years now, and I'm a psychologist at the counseling center. We call it Counseling and Psychological Services here, and often it's like short as CAPS. So I just want to welcome everybody, and I'm very happy to spend the next 45 or 50 minutes each with you all.
Hello. Fred. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Fred Shueh. I'm a licensed psychologist here in California and in Ohio. I just moved from Ohio to San Diego last year. I joined the center last year. Yeah, I'm very happy to talk about some of the issue coming here, having two cultures and how do you navigate between these two cultures. So today we can just go into this topic a little bit, and the format will be more like discussion. So I know we have this virtual kind of a setting, but if you have any answers, you can raise your hand and Karina can help shift the screen to you. And also if you want, I hope everybody can use the chat function. So if you can put the answers in the chat function, that would be great. Okay, so let's dive in. So first of all, I want to welcome you to UCSD. This is a beautiful campus and wonderful prestigious school here. So I personally also speak Mandarin Chinese. I am from Taiwan. I grew up there. This is my 20th year in the US already. Time flies. So 欢迎你们 Bienvenido a la UCSD. Bear with me with my Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, and try to welcome you in Mandarin Chinese and also in Spanish. But yeah, hopefully I did okay. So I want to know, where are you from? So all over the world, I believe you travel a lot. So and this is probably the first one you are in the US. So you can put in the chat to let us know where you are from. So, oh, from Brazil, I see. That's wonderful. We have some people from Brazil. Anybody else? If you feel like, oh, Canada, it's a neighbor. India, from Vietnam, from China, wonderful. And from Canada, also Hong Kong. Wow, so many of you from all over the world. Many Canadians, actually. I'm very surprised, impressed. That's a pleasant surprise. Yeah, okay. So feel free to use the chat function so we can communicate through the chat functions. So yeah, seeing the world map, we can see the students from all over the world, and some of you travel a lot. Some of you are from close by countries, but yeah, it's a journey definitely coming to America a lot of time. So we can move to the next slide to talk a little bit about the cultural differences. So a lot of time we have a lot of common things. Like Coca-Cola, you can see on the slide. Now we all have Coca-Cola, but it could be a little bit different. So with the current globalization and the pop culture everywhere from America, there are real differences. So we live in a global world, and the pandemic in the past few years make it a little bit different. Like everybody's working remotely and even go to school remotely. So in some way, we are more connected online, especially, but also it could be quite different sometimes, feels like. So probably a lot of you have a lot of American kind of cultural experiences. For example, like the drinks, Coca-Cola, and the Hollywood pop cultures. So American merchandise is all over the world, and it may look a little bit different in different home countries of yours, and taste maybe even the Coca-Cola tastes a little bit different. So are there true real differences between different countries and or different cultures? So what do you all think? You can put your thoughts and comments in the chat, and we can move to the next slide. So in my opinion, I would think we are in some way all kind of receive this kind of American culture from the Hollywood pop culture a little bit. So yeah, a lot of time we will think, yeah, we have a lot of these common influences from American culture. So what are your expectations about American culture? I'm curious. We can move to the next slide to see. Nowadays, we have all the social medias, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. So everybody everywhere in different countries might have similar experiences. So yeah, please respond in the chat. What's your experience? What do you know about American culture? What do you think? What is American culture for you? What are some of the expectations you had about American culture before you came to US? And I'm especially curious, after you came, are your expectation or experience very different from before? So I see that. So I see Bruno. You said most of your expectations are based on TV series, movie you watch. So you recognize in unrealistic sometimes. And Fengqin so said she thought everything in America is better, was better maybe. Yeah. So I actually kind of agree. Before I have a kind of a fantasy kind of about American culture, like just like in the movies and in the TV series. And Jeanette mentioned she imagined America to have a lot of more choices in cereal, cookies, and potato chips. Yeah, that's very interesting, especially for breakfast, especially. So in the next slide, you can probably see that there are so many differences here in America. America is actually a pretty diverse culture itself. And yeah, a lot of time it could be pretty hard to define what is American culture. Actually, it's a melting pot, according to a lot of cultural studies. So how do we fit in as an international student coming to America? This is something I want you to kind of think about this. And I have a small exercise, and I'll ask Karina or Jeanette to help us to bring each of you into a group of 5 people. So I want you to first introduce yourself. So in the next slide, you can see a little bit of this exercise. I want you to introduce yourself to each other in the group. And I want you to kind of say a little bit about your expectations before about American culture, and how do you feel different than the typical Americans right now, and what kind of difference have you found recently? And you can put your notes to the chat or writing it down, and maybe some of you afterward we can share a little bit. So I want to spend about 5 or 6 minutes for this exercise. So how about this? Now we can break into the room and have about 6 minutes or so for us to talk about our experiences. All right, so most of us came back from the discussion. So you can put in the chat a little bit, what did you notice? And we can share with the whole group, or any of you want to talk about how your discussion was like, and what was your expectation? Did you feel different than the typical American? Is this different than what you expected? I think I talked to my group members. They said they've been here for a while, actually. Several of them, they mentioned they did not have a lot of expectations to start with. So far they have good experience. How about all of you? Oh, it's okay. You can continue this. So we'll wait 5 seconds if some of you are shy. If there's nobody, you can still put the comments, answers in the chat. And I will turn this to Dr. Fengqin for the next section then.
Okay, well, thank you, Fred. All right. So we're here to talk about moving between 2 cultures. I think for a person who grew up in one culture and lives in a different culture, and frequently every day could feel like you're moving between 2 cultures. And I have a very good example for that myself. And I've lived here in the United States for 15 years, 16 years. And just yesterday at a meeting, and like a group of people, and I know them, and a group of people were referencing a movie that was made in 1973. So that was before I was born. But a lot of American people know about that movie. And I completely got lost. So actually I have secretly Googled what that movie was when I was at a staff meeting. So it's just an example, like a reminder of how it still shows up after living here for 16 years. So I really hope our conversation today will inspire some wisdom, or will leave some helpful messages, and hopefully they'll pop up when it's needed. So when we talk about moving between 2 cultures, norm could be something that is useful to recognize. A norm is something that sort of everybody knows about, like if they live in the same environment in a culture, and sometimes the norm could be unspoken. And then when we live in a different culture, like language proficiency or our accent could impact our subjective experience, and the types of relationships could also impact our experience. And sometimes that could lead to our brain to feel exhausted, and sometimes we may just we may have the feeling of missing home. So we would like to talk about all these together. So we'll go to the next slide. So if you look at this picture, you'll see that the first person sort of is trying to do the same or trying to fit in, but you see, like, because of the position he had, it was very difficult for him to do the exact same thing, because he had to look back to see what everybody else is doing. So this just reminds me how it may not be as easy as we thought when it comes to fitting in. So today we would like to talk about how to fit in, or the norms in 3 different areas: communication, academics, and romantic relationships. We chose these 3 different areas because based on our experience, I think for every university student, these 3 areas are very sort of just important. So let's go to the next slide. So communication, we could think about communication in 2 different aspects, the how aspect and the what aspect. The how aspect is like the non-verbal aspect. For example, the eye contact, like notice that I'm actually looking at the camera right now. That's the eye contact part. And then the voice volume. I don't know, I hope that you all can hear me clearly now. And it's kind of harder to tell with the when we are doing this over Zoom, but when you talk in person, you can notice the differences in volume. And then the hand gestures, like what I'm doing now, could be different. And personal space may be different. One thing that I've noticed that after I came over to the United States, that in America, it seems very common that people would just, a group of people would stand in a room, and everybody would just be talking to each other when they stand there, very crowded, and then it's very loud. Where I grew up, and that was less common. Like most people, like the gatherings would be smaller. So you could think about like what every aspect I talked about is like in your home country, and then start to notice if there's any differences as you observe people here. And based on my observation, I would say in the United States, direct, gentle eye contact is typically considered as a sign of respect and attention. And speaking like loudly enough, but maybe not too loud, is considered more polite and acceptable. So, and again, a sign of respect. The hand gestures are more accepted compared to some other cultures, particularly in Asian countries. And the next is the what part, and what part is the verbal part. So in my observation, when people first get to know each other in America, like weather is a very safe topic, and interests are also very considered as a safe topic, like your personal hobbies, your passion, entertainment, stuff like that. On the other hand, politics and religion seem to be a bit trickier, and especially because it feels like nowadays the division between political opinions and the religion, different religions, seems to be big. So that's just my personal observation, and I encourage you all to sort of pay attention to that too. Next slide. Okay. So this slide is titled as "What do Americans mean when they say certain things?" And feel free, Karina, feel free to click the button so the phrases will come up. So when we when a lot of us learned English in our home country, it could be based on the textbook English. So the answers may be standard. And then after we came over here and we lived here, sometimes we may notice that some things may not be exactly, like people may not mean exactly what they sound like. For example, people have asked me, how are you doing? And it sounded like they are sincere, but then the situations, actually, the environment we were in actually indicated that they didn't have time to listen to me to talk about how I was doing. For example, we might be in a very loud environment. And if that was the case, obviously I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about how sad I felt, how miserable I felt. And sometimes people may be on their way to the bathroom and they ask me that question, and obviously they wouldn't have time to listen to me for a lot of details. So when people say, how are you doing? If they seem that they don't have time for details, it could be just that it's not a sign that they are not polite, and it's not a sign that they don't care. It's more like a lot of people say that as a greeting. So it's sort of as a habit of saying that. And if the time or the situation doesn't feel like it's a good fit to tell details, you don't have to tell a lot of details. And there are other examples, and Karina, feel free to click, and so that like all of them show up. And so like people may ask you, how was your weekend? Any special plans for your birthday? So I sometimes, like when people ask me if I have special plans for your birthday, I still tell them the details, but it is possible that they may not want to know a lot of the details. But again, I think it could be very different, like what Fred was saying, the culture could be diverse. I encourage you to sort of just pay attention to the environment you're in, to pay attention to the other person's intention. Sometimes they may truly just want to hear all the details. Another thing that may be confusing is that when people say, I will see you around, and at the same time you may get confused, and it's like you may be like, but we don't have plans to see each other again. Like, I don't know your phone number, and we have not exchanged our phone numbers. How are we going to see each other around, right? So it is possible, again, that is a way for people to just be polite and don't take it personally if they don't have plans to contact you or things like that. Karina, could you click like for more of these coming up? So some other examples could be like, come over sometime, even though they are not specifically asking you to come over, like Saturday, this weekend or something like that. Or sometimes people may casually say, I'll call you, but they never do. So again, don't take it personally if that happens. It might be sort of just like a casual habit for people to show politeness. But if they do call you, obviously they are, interested in getting to know you. Feel free to be open about that. Another phrase that I heard about is that some people feel confused when they hear, I really like your shirt, your shoes, or earrings. Some people may be like, does that mean that I need to share these with you? Not really. Like, it's more like a compliment when people say this, they just want to show that they like your taste or your preferences or your choices. Love you or missed you. For people coming from some other cultures, hearing these may sound kind of surprising, because in some cultures, the word love or miss is considered as very significant, like a very significant word, and you don't easily say that to people. And but people in America tend to use them more flexibly, like in different settings. They could mean different things. Like for people in a romantic relationship, they may, some people may even say it like early on when it just shows their affections to each other. It doesn't really mean that they are like loyal to you for the rest of their lives, or they'll like sell their car, if you need to borrow some money or something like that. Okay, what about the next one? And then again, I think talk about the weather is a very common thing. Okay, the next one. Let me check the time. I just want to know if we need to speed up. Okay. Another norm that may be worth recognizing is the balance between study and fun. So in America, based on my observation, I think it's more acceptable and expected that people have fun on weekends, on weekday evenings, and this may be a bit different for students from some countries like East Asia. Okay, the next slide. And then when it comes to dating, it could be confusing again. When you're here, you may end up dating a person from your own home country. You may end up dating a person from a different country. You may end up dating a person who grew up in America. So again, like when you think about these combinations of different situations, it could be very different. Like, for example, who pays for the meals when you go out? Who initiates activities? Like, when is it okay to hold hands? When is it okay to have kisses? Or when is it okay to have other types of physical intimacies? To be honest, I don't have answers to these questions. I myself have Googled these questions. And certainly, I think a lot of posts online have been very helpful, actually. One thing I think it's okay to do is to actually talk about these questions with the person that you intend to date, or the person you're dating, and that may be a great opportunity to find out about each other's expectations. Next slide. Okay. So I would propose that we skip the next group activity because we only have about 20 minutes left. So for this slide, I just want to say that it's very common for a person to make a mistake when they study a different language or when they speak a different language. I myself have made dozens of mistakes like this, if not more. So I would just say that if you make a mistake, just remember everybody makes it. It's totally okay.
Yeah,
Next slide.
I totally agree. Yes. I came in 2002 to the US, and it's been 20 years and I'm still learning a lot every day. So I used to think I was very Americanized because during undergrad in Taiwan, I studied American and English literature. So I thought I was pretty Americanized, and I was pretty naive also think I did not have an accent, but actually I have an accent. When I first taught my undergrad classes, I was a doctoral student teaching psychology courses during my doctoral period. And I was really hurt by one of my students' comment in the course evaluation. This student just wrote, this professor has a very strong accent. I don't understand what he talks about. I was like really hurt because I was a English major and I was an English teacher in my country. And I took a class of pronunciation, it's a phonics, and I thought I did not have an accent. But I want you to know that I don't want you to feel inferior or less intelligent if you have an accent, because you actually have an advantage that you don't know. That actually, I want you to see the next slide a little bit, that not understanding, sometimes people not understanding your accent, it could be their own issue. Because in psychology, we actually found out when people have this mindset they don't want to understand, then they could not really understand you really. So I don't know if you have this experience that hopefully not yet. So when people see your face and just or they see your clothes, they just assume you're like from international country, and they will just assume you might be Chinese, or they might assume you speak Korean or certain things. So people could have all kinds of assumptions, and sometimes they might assume you don't speak English, and they might. So I have this experience. I just speak English to them, and they don't understand at all because they think I don't speak English. So they think I will be speaking Mandarin Chinese or something. And even though I speak perfect English to communicate, I still have an accent, but I can communicate pretty well. The other person might not understand you. So don't get frustrated. So sometimes you might not understand the other person, and the other person might not understand you. It might not be just a issue of language. It could be due to their mindset, their psychology. So I really want you to know that. And I don't want you to feel less intelligent. And I don't want you to feel less than others. So I don't want this to impact your self-esteem. I really want to encourage you to feel good about your accent, because everybody has accent. Even Americans, they will have accents from different area. They will have different accents. Like New Yorker, they talk very differently from people in California. So if you live in a place long enough, you can tell the differences of the different accents. So having more accents, having an accent actually means that you have experience of different language and a different culture. So that's a really good thing that you should feel proud of. So actually, I visit Taiwan nowadays, and people have a hard time to tell where I'm from because they think I don't sound like a Taiwanese to them, and I don't sound like people from America or from China. They cannot tell where I'm from because I have a mixed accent of America, Taiwan, and I see a lot of Chinese students. So my accent right now is very mixed right now. And sometimes when you are tired, you might have more accent. When you are less on guard, you could be like talking more like fluently or not fluently. It all depends on different factors. So it could be due to many different factors. Sometimes the person will be nodding to you and you feel more confident. You can talk more fluently. And I even talk sometimes and make people thought I was born here in the US. So sometimes I can talk more Americanized way. And sometimes I talk very like an international way. So it all depends. So I don't want you to feel that it has anything to do with your intelligence, because I believe all of you are very intelligent and you should be proud of your accent. So the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about friendship. So friendship could be kind of different here. So I used to think like everybody view the friendship very much the same. People from all over the world will be the same, but actually it could be very cultural specific. So when I was in Taiwan, I feel like friend means like you can do anything and you'll just talk about any kind of things. But in American, they have a different level of friends. So in English, you can even understand they are like different terms for different level of friends. For example, if you see people like regularly, and that's just acquaintance in English, that's like common friend, really the lowest level friend. And then you have the friend, and you have the good friends or best friends. So a lot of time it could be very different from your culture. So sometimes it could be hard to make friends. So you might feel embarrassed in your culture, or you don't really, or in your culture, you'll wait for others to take action to initiate the friendship. But I would say, just give it a try and try your best to interact with other people. And you will find some people very friendly, and you might find some other people not very friendly. But if you keep trying, you'll be able to make some friends here. And the next slide, I want to mention a little bit about missing home. So according to the research about adjustment, cultural adjustment, we found out there could be a honeymoon period from 3 to 6 months. So a lot of time you might feel like everything is new and exciting, and you don't even have time to miss home or family or friends back at home. But we travel so far away, and according to research, you might one day suddenly, it depends on different people, you might suddenly feel very homesick. Maybe there's some difficulty, some frustration, and you suddenly miss the family and friends, and especially food. The 3 F's. Oh, that could be so hard to get the food, and family and friends are very far away. So suddenly you might feel very homesick. And this is all very common. So I want you to know that a lot of times this could happen at a different time that you expected. So it might happen after a year you've been here, and don't be surprised. And at that time, you can try to talk to other people to talk about this experience. So it's okay to talk with other people about these kind of cultural experiences. The next slide, I want to mention that sometimes we will be very tired facing all the new things in a culture. So you probably have a lot of schoolwork to go through. You have so many new things in your life. It could be very exciting in the beginning, but it could be stressful for you also. So language could be a lot of things for you. So I just want you to know that you want to really give yourself some space and time. And when you have difficulties, just give yourself some compassion and be nice to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Don't be too harsh on yourself. So I've been in the US since 2002, and I have so many difficulties. And I thought I was very capable, but a lot of time you just couldn't deal with the things. It's not about your ability. Sometimes it's just a situation. So at that time, I want you to love yourself and give yourself some compassion. Be nice and gentle to yourself, and be patient. In the next slides, I want to talk a little bit what you can do to put everything together. So it is a wonderful thing that you have. I want you to know that. So in the next slide, how to make it work. So I want you to remember what you're going through is normal. If you have this feeling that you're not knowing anything, people don't understand you, this is normal reaction to adjust to a culture, a new culture. Even though you feel like you might adjust pretty well, like I thought I was very Americanized, I'll be doing so well, but actually I still had difficulties. So I want you to know that there could be some difficult moments, and it's totally okay to experience some difficulty. And in the next slide, I want to encourage you to make friends of your own country, keep connections with your home country people, make friends from your own country, but also make friends with people here in America, either Americans or international students from other country. Because according to research, my master's thesis was an international student adjustment. So international students maintain connection with home country and other country and local people. They will have the best adjustment experience. So I really want to encourage you to interact with all of these different groups of people. And in the next slide, I also want you to give it a try. Like I said, sometimes you don't bump into some nice people immediately. Some people are nice, some people are not nice. Some people will accept that you have an accent and don't mind you have an accent, and some people might not be like that. So you just have to keep trying. If you keep trying, you will make it. So Jeanette and Karina will introduce you some of the programs here. So I'll turn to them.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fred. And I know if you've been attending our sessions, you've probably heard all of these before, but I think it just ties really well with everything that Fred and Fengqin shared with us today. First, a really great resource for students is our iEvents calendar. So this lives on ISPO website, and you can easily find it by typing ievents.ucsd.edu. So if you're looking for an event that our office is hosting, you can find it there. We also try to promote other globally related events as well. So anything that maybe global education or study abroad are hosting, our campus partners are also welcome to, and as well as student organizations always submit requests to our calendar as well. So if you're looking to try something new and make friends along the way, definitely check out some of the events that we have on the calendar. Another great opportunity is Get CCR. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it, but this is just a great way to attend those events and get credit for it for your core curriculum record. If you're interested to learn more, please visit getccr.ucsd.edu. Another option that we have during the orientation specifically is our meetups. So we have both regional and interest-based groups, and those are led by ISPO orientation assistants. So it's made by students for students. So if you're looking to connect with students from your home region, or let's say you're really passionate about photography or basketball or whatever it may be, and you want to connect with other students with the same interests, definitely check those out. And they happen all throughout the day. So it's a great opportunity, if you have time in your schedule to check those out. Also, a great resource is Recreation. So they have a lot of fun classes, both virtually and in person. You can join an intramural or club sport. If you played back home, maybe you're not as confident about playing on a Division I team, but you still want to stay active and still want to continue making friends. It's a really great way to kind of get involved, stay healthy, get a little bit of exercise in, and still, find that community there as well. Fred, I'm going to pass it back to you.
I think the next section, Fengqin will introduce a little bit of how to deal with these issues.
Okay, all right. Hi, everyone, I'll take over. And also I want to explain that I do have an appointment at 4 p.m. So I will need to leave in about 4 minutes. And Fred, if we go over.
Yeah, I can take over the rest.
Okay. All right. So hopefully the presentation so far has has been helpful in some ways, and we've been building in some of the messages that we want you to take home with. And the next we'll just present a few more additional messages. This one, just don't be shy and just ask when you don't know or don't understand. Again, I think asking questions is really a very acceptable behavior in the United States, and most people welcome questions. So if you have a doubt about that, I encourage you to remind yourself of this. And then we talk about the balance between school and fun. I think having too much of a schooling or having too much of fun probably doesn't work out well for a lot of people, and having a balance probably would be better. And next slide. Staying in touch with home could be extremely important at the first stage of the transition. I think it takes time for people to build a social support system. I think some research might have said that it takes about 3 years for a person to build a very stable social support system. So hopefully it doesn't take you that long. And certainly I encourage you to stay in touch with your home friends and family members. And when things do get too hard, like Fred said, it's probably very normal. And next slide, we'll share some, just like some of the signs that it may show up. When things do get too hard, you may notice like sadness, depressed mood, anxiety or irritability, anger. The sleep may be impacted and the appetite may be impacted. And then people's motivation to attend classes may be impacted. It may be hard to concentrate. There could be a sense of isolation, and there could be also physical pain. And when things get very difficult, people may even have thoughts about suicide as a way of getting away from all that. So when that happens, I really encourage you to reach out for help. You can reach out to friends, local friends or friends here. You can reach out to the advisors at the ISPO. You can reach out to advisors at your college or graduate schools. Again, TAs and professors could be a resource. And then counseling and psychological services. Okay, yeah, you can go to the next slide. So that's where Fred and I work, and we have all of our colleagues are dedicated to helping students. And then this number here is a 24/7 crisis line. You can call that number, and you can talk to a counselor at midnight or on weekends, particularly if you are in an emotional crisis and cannot wait for the next the business day or hour. We can go to the next slide. And so we have a lot of psychologists, and you can see like people look very different. And if it matters to you, you can certainly go to the CAPS website and check out everybody's background. And you can, when you call CAPS, you can request a therapist that you may feel more connected to. CAPS psychologists, we have psychologists who speak different languages. For example, Fred and I speak Mandarin. We also have colleagues who speak Spanish and other languages. And if you go to the CAPS website, we'll have the most updated information about that. Next slide. So it's 3:59. Fred, do you mind taking over?
Yeah, you actually explained a lot of things mostly. So I'll just answer some question. And actually, in the next slide, you can see this. We do individual counseling, crisis workshop, forums, and all our service will be free and confidential and private. So we don't talk to anybody outside of our offices. So you can trust us. And I want to add a little bit when you seek help. There is one office I want you to know that it's not on the list, that student affairs of every college. If you're in a certain college, there will be a student affair office. You can always seek help there because their office is there to help students with all kinds of issues. So your advisor or ISPO advisor will direct you there also if necessary, but you can always seek their help if needed. I want you to know that you can also contact us if you find things are very difficult and you want a space and time to talk about things in therapy. So in the next slide, you'll see that you can call this number. That's the easiest way to reach us. And we also have urgent service in the next slides. From Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 o'clock, we have urgent services. If you have a mental breakdown, you need to be seen immediately. We can see you for that reason. And if you have immediate danger to yourself or others, like suicidal, homicidal, self-injury sorts of behavior that you cannot control, you can also be seen immediately. But usually when you call us, we'll schedule a phone screening called brief telephone assessment, and then we'll do an initial evaluation, and then we will do brief therapy, 4 to 5 sessions. If you need long-term, we'll help you find long-term options on campus or off campus. So that's pretty much all the information you know. If you forget about all these, just go to our website. We have a lot of different programs. In the next slide, you can see that we have a lot of groups, workshop forum. You can join directly online. So check those out. Check our website. And remember the number. You can find the number on our website. Just contact us if you have any question. Once again, I want to welcome all of you to this wonderful campus, wonderful school. This will be a great time here. This is probably, in my opinion, the best school and the best weather here in the US. So congratulations again and welcome again to all of you. I'll turn to Karina and Janet.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fred. And I definitely agree. I mean, who doesn't love sunny San Diego? And I hope you all get to enjoy and love it as much as we do pretty soon. I know we're a little bit over, so unfortunately we won't have time for questions. But as Fred mentioned, please don't hesitate to reach out to CAPS or check out their website for all of the different options. I just posted their website, their vanity URL in the chat as well. So it's caps.ucsd.edu. And then our website is ispo.ucsd.edu. When in doubt, it's always an acronym and then .ucsd.edu at the end. We do ask that you take a few moments to scan this QR code to give us some feedback on this session. This will take you to a survey. It shouldn't take too long, but we always want to make sure that we're improving and that we're counting your attendance for participation as well. So please take a moment to scan the QR code on your screen and take the survey for us. And then we have already talked a little bit about the meetups and the iEvents calendar, so I'm going to skip those for now. But just final reminders, if you would like to attend more orientation sessions, please visit iorientationucsd.com to sign up for those. We have quite a lot more coming up, so we hope to see you there. If you want to hear up-to-date information from ISPO, please visit iupdates.ucsd.edu. And always stay in touch with us, either through our weekly newsletters, Zoom advising, or social media. So you can see some of our websites and our Instagram handle on the screen as well. But with that, I would like to close this session. And again, thank you all so much for participating. Thank you, Fred, for being with us. We hope you have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for being here.